And this is Mehmet Kazdian. He is the founder and CEO of a company called Cliexa. So Mehmet, go ahead and pull up your slides. We're excited to have you here. And again, another great company that is working on remote patient monitoring. I think it'll be really excited. I think our audience will be very excited to hear all about it.
Great. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Thank you. Well, thanks for giving me the chance, everybody. This is Mehmet Kazgan. I am the founder and CEO of Cliexa. I started my journey in 2016 with Cliexa, leaving Aetna as an executive on technology. I did software development for 26 years. As this year, I worked in hands-on software development, and I did actually my first AI development back in the days in 21 years. I think it has started the first data. And after leaving Aetna, I said I want to put a dent in digital healthcare realm and started Cliexa. So I want to talk to you about like the remote patient monitoring solutions in specifically multiple chronic conditions today. Obviously, patients today have multiple conditions, but solutions today are around thousands of them, as you can hear, in multiple chronic condition monitoring, offering solutions in single conditions in single device. Another problem is they're not based on any clinical guidelines. If they are, they don't combine this with policies that are driven with risk models in the clinic with their practices as well. I'm specifically talking about conditions like diabetes, cardiovascular specifically, which are highly correlated. There's also a lot of information noise with the data that are not unstructured. When I say unstructured, there's data from devices, data from automated information coming from referral databases or the electronic medical records itself. Unfortunately, out of these three, the fourth one is they don't really track billing and compliance support. Yeah, it creates some of the codes and requirements, but when it comes to the kind of like claims justification, they are limited at the same time. With that said, we partnered with American College of Cardiology in 2018. About a year and a half after I launched the company, I said, we want to build a solution that is EMR and device agnostic, that is based on clinical guidelines for 4 or 5 different conditions that derives multiple conditions outputs along with the multiple devices. So Cliexa Pulse, which I'm going to demo in a minute here, can actually monitor multiple conditions, multiple devices on a front end mobile applications, the native Xamarin hybrid mobile app that connects with the EMR real time. And also we built with American College of Cardiology the clinical guidelines, asking for a risk that also requires like some of the follow-up questions with the patients can be done also online. That's based on clinical guidelines, but also not limited with that can be also added by the clinic's policies along with the treatments. We also aggregate data as we collect the information from different data points. We synthesize that with a patented data indexing model from multiple resources, which I'm going to give you a snapshot of, and then present it in an actionable way. And we also automate the eligibility for ancillary services along with it, act like a commoditized revenue cycle management platform. And we also support with billing and reimbursements as we generate documentation necessary for that claim. Okay, so all these cool things, how does it work? So the solution that I'm going to present here is a live Cliexa Pulse application. Again, we announced it last year in June, and we are deploying it into our clients already. The patient here can basically, you can see here, it can add multiple devices, and it's really taking about 30 seconds to a minute to add multiple devices. Once it's added, it will start communicating necessary information from multiple devices here. And once this is done, the system will push out like any tags that are related to that basically high blood pressure and the date along with it. And you can see the patient is actually now triggered to a certain specific questions that is coming along with their condition. You're seeing hypertension here, and they need to answer certain questions why your blood pressure is high. Again, these guidelines are built with American College of Cardiology for following questions. Here's a type 1 diabetes patients. They can also track their CGM device, glucose monitoring, and the system will provide feedback not only to the patient, but also it will push it into the EMR directly. So the whole idea is really creating advanced interoperability. We have 8 EMR integrations already in place, 3 of them marketplace, all homegrown systems that really connects these 3 data buckets. One is patient reported outcomes, clinical assessments, medication adherence, complications, automated APIs we built in that really gets device data, 300 plus devices that we can integrate with, prescription monitoring information, and patient history data with APIs, marry that data with EMR, apply the clinical algorithm, synthesize it, risk stratification model, and push it over into the EMR directly, discretely in a report. On here, you can see on the left, not only we're triggering the eligible ancillary services with the codes, we're giving a snapshot for the patients with cardiovascular risk, glucose risk, medication adherence in one screen, and we can design the screen for any conditions. We have 8 subspecialty platforms we built along with cardiovascular with American College of Cardiology. So within 4.5 years, we grew about 12x in revenues. Like we started with 2018, and today we have 3 major health system contracts. We stay about like 10 minutes per patient visit per provider. And we increased the revenues for our customers by 15% from the moment we deployed our solutions from 3 buckets. One, additional ancillary services triggering, acting like an RCM by pushing like rejections and denials actually away from it because we justify it, and basically creating assessment reimbursements during the intake, including primary care. We also reported 97% accuracy in our opioid risk model with a clinic that I'm personally involved with. We accomplished a lot, raised about 2.5 million to date. 1.2 million came from non-dilutive equity. We're raising 3 million. Along with it, we have like 3 grants that one of them came from $1 million from NIH for mental health. And we actually have 2, and third one came through last year, Ascension, Banner Health with our contracts, along with the 2 acquisitions we have done. Our team is formed of, lucky enough we have 2 doctors who are actually business savvy people join into our team. We have Robin and Lisa coming from compliance and behavioral health background, and my team. Thanks for giving us the chance, and happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mehmet. I have a couple of questions to start with, and then we definitely have some in our chat as well. So I know you told us specifically about Cliexa Pulse tonight, which was created with the American College of Cardiology. But I think your platform can also be used to monitor other chronic conditions. Can you talk a little bit more about those?
Absolutely. So I think the idea, thanks for the question, Katie. The idea here is really focus on really common denominators. Cardiovascular was one of them. So we started with that. We also have like pain management platform, but it manages not only pain. As an example, I gave an example about cardiovascular condition with hypertension and diabetes. But we also have integrated pain that can monitor mental health with pain. So you can pair chronic conditions, and the system will really follow up and give the snapshot for the provider. If you think about primary care today rarely are managing chronic conditions, chronic care management, because they don't have the right tools to do it. So we enable those, not only adding those condition-specific assessments, devices, but also creating snapshots from different data resources to enable them to see and manage those 2 conditions. In fact, majority of the subspecialties like nephrology already managing cardiovascular, like blood pressure for patients, but they don't charge for RPM or CCM because they don't have the tool for it. That's where we come in.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's really exciting. And I know, in our short presentation tonight, we also only got to see a fraction, I think, of the many features really that your platform does. So what else, aside from the things that we saw? I mean, the management of chronic conditions, clearly from the clinician perspective and really helping those patients that are at higher risk bubble to the top and make sure that we're following up closely with those patients, super important. But I know there are other things that you all do that really can help the practice in general. correct?
Absolutely. And again, this was a good kind of playground for me that I personally own, and am a shareholder on an integrated pain clinic that gave us a good playground to learn other things that we can build within Cliexa. So to your point, if you think about patient journey, Katie, patients show up in a clinic, fill forms, digital, paper, it doesn't matter. Paper to digital is 20 years old technology today. But really what matters, as a doctor, you need to give them the opportunity to practice medicine instead of typing documents in EMR and try. I want to give that snapshot within a second. So we enable a really fully customized intake solution that will really not only qualify patients for ancillary services, but it will trigger documentation according to the payer guidelines, clinical assessment outcomes, risk models, and all that directly to the EMR. Within seconds, you have all these buckets fully integrated. But now we're talking to the EMR. If there's a claim that you're going to be right, you're going to select as a CPT code, you want to make sure that somebody else didn't code for it. So our claim data integration will actually notify for only available services, not clinically, but by the payer somebody did not bill for. So we're cutting that denial and rejection issue by acting like a revenue cycle management platform. We have also like reporting that goes into MIPS reporting, into the quality reporting, into EMR discretely. We also have remote patient monitoring that tracks patients pre-post surgery, like complications and so on and so forth. But now multiply that with 8 different subspecialties and conditions, we're really creating this foundational thing to communicate all the information that is necessary that doctor wants to see. I'll say this and stop here. Remote
Yeah. Oh,
monitoring
go ahead.
information is really tools out there really providing how we can get the 16 data points per month so the clinics actually monitor and get $59.99 a month. Well, patient monitoring should be personalized because it's just not data. Doctors don't want just data, they want an actionable insight to that data. So that's where we come in to monitor that.
Well, and it seems like this would be a great tool as we move more toward value-based care. I mean, you guys are taking it from patient intake to revenue cycle and billing, which is super helpful. Okay, so several questions from our audience. The first one from Dr. Macaluso. So there are a lot of problems related to remote monitoring, telehealth, and the similar, and it relates to the failure to really get those integrated into your practice and your workflows. And this is further delayed by reimbursement issues, HIPAA issues, practice and provider resistance. I'm sure you've seen all of those things, right? So tell me how, you all are helping practices overcome some of those obstacles.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So if you think about the healthcare system today, we do pretty much everything to challenge doctors not to practice medicine. Document it, make sure you justify it. And in the meantime, we want you to see enough patients also like make money if you can out of it. So the problem starts with the system. Well, we all know the problems. Well, HIPAA interoperability, we solve that problem. Interoperability actually has been monopolized with EMR companies for years by saying HIPAA is there. And nobody knows today in the market, when I say nobody, I'm being actually a little bit rhetorical here, but the Cures Act tells us patient owns the data, and I want that data to be shared by everybody. Of course, there's going to be security. But the thing is, I want doctor to see what they want to see, and then that's already within the EMR. We're not providing another platform, another app. We're enabling, look, create the patient journey. You're already collecting this data from the patients when they come for a telehealth visit or anything, and the challenges are still there. But we're just basically creating a convenience factor for the patients. Well, I don't want to type this up and answer the same questions with the medical assistant and the PA and the doctor multiple times. They want to see a picture. Let us paint that picture by reverse engineering your policies and guidelines, by asking the right question to enable clinically that services you're going to provide is eligible, and administratively somebody didn't charge for it, and also document everything that's necessary. So reverse engineering the payer model, again, coming from Aetna, it is not that hard. But again, interoperability, security around it, we have done it. We have customers. And when I say 15% revenue actually increase, it's a lot of money if you think about it.
Oh,
but
sure.
Move that away, enabling that for a doctor to save 10 minutes per patient visit per day. I mean, all of the doctors on this call can calculate what the return for that. But remove this as a side. I am going. What makes me the better one across the street? Like, what is the difference that I provide? Well, I can show value. To your point, value-based care.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of
No,
like.
and I think it sounds like you are really doing a great job
Thank you.
really trying to work within the workflows. You have a lot of providers that are helping with on your board and part of your leadership team to really make sure these are integrated into current workflows, which I think is super important. So a few more questions from our audience. A couple of questions about EMRs. So first of all, what EMRs are you integrating with at this point? And then another question about the data specifically, right? You touched a little bit on who owns the data, but one of our audience members said, aren't you giving away the data by pushing it back into the EHR?
Yes, great question. So the EMRs, we are official marketplace partners with Epic, Athena Health, Cerner, and Greenway. That's those basically. We're becoming their. Well, we became already, but we're available immediately, including Microsoft Azure. We're also available in the Transact application marketplace. So those are like just an app, just in iOS or Android phones that you're using. So we already did the handshake. Adding multiple clinics is basically through their channels, but we drop some of these revenues to those EMRs, which is a great return. We don't have to solve the same problem again and again. For the other ones, like for example, Clinical Works or All Scripts, we have one-off implementations with them. Again, it's the same model, but they don't have we don't have that marketplace partnerships built in yet. We do case by case to answer your question. But when I say integration, it's not one way. We talk constantly to the EMR. If there's data comes in with the report, it requires a trigger to the patient, it goes the other way. Or the patient has a blood pressure that, along with a complication that triggers a notification in a Clinical Works, Jelly Beans, we triggered that. All these APIs are already built in. The second part of the question, I think you were asking about, I think the data. So we actually sign a business associate agreement, which is standard with any digital health technology today. We're saying you own the data, but give us the opportunity to process the data. Basically, I'm not saying this is data of Katie Richardson, age 25, having this chronic condition, and so on and so forth. We're saying we're looking at a female who has a chronic condition of hypertension with type 2 diabetes and the cardiovascular risk high, according to American College of Cardiology. If you put certain treatment, we monitor this data and constantly process and give it back to that clinic specifically. We're saying, Katie, with your treatment models, this will be the outcome from your patient base. We're actually personalizing your medicine to you constantly real time. So that data is owned by the clinic. We don't own it. We can process it to give that information back to that point.
Well, Mehmet, I have been, I think, blown away. The idea, again, the amount of data that comes in is overwhelming, I think, for providers to really be able to take that from multiple sources and put it in a way that helps us take better care of patients, I think is super exciting. So thank you again for being here.